Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we are going through a business checklist that should go from A to Z on how you should set everything up in your business, how you should do niche research, how to think of an offer, and also how to come up with a marketing strategy as well. I'm joined with James. So let's get started. Let's set up a business from start to finish.
So the ultimate business checklist. Step number one, prior to doing anything, is doing your research. So checking who your competition is or will be, checking to see what your USP is, and how broad are you going to go? Are you going to go very specific on a certain service or a certain product that you're going to sell, or are you going to go quite wide? So can you expand on that, on the research?
Yeah, so obviously what I like to focus on is being niche. So like being a specialist in one thing. Now there's obviously pros and cons to it, but like for example, let's say you wanted to set up a marketing agency. Instead of doing marketing for plumbers and lawyers and tradespeople, you might say, well, actually, I'm going to do marketing only for dentists, for example. And then the pros of that is obviously your internal staff, they know, right, okay, we need to use these specific colors, or we need to use this specific wording because that actually attracts people to become a patient at that dental clinic. So from a scalability point of view, you do have that pro. The con of that is if, say, for example, let's say dentists all got replaced by AI somehow, and they never need marketing again, you've obviously got all your eggs in one basket. So you do need to think of, or you do need to worry about that. So don't go too niche, but also don't go too broad as well. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I prefer niching down, going very specific. If I then want to go slightly broader, I can set up another limited company.
Yeah.
So, but also I do want to make certain that I always call it shouldering niches. I become very friendly, and I know some people that are in a very close proximity niche to what I'm in, because there's times I might be able to cross-sell and give them work, and in return, they could give me work back.
Yeah.
But anyway, step number two, big part of it is once you kind of know, all right, this is the product or the service or the industry that we're going to enter, is thinking of a name of the business and thinking of a name of the brand. So have you got any ideas with regards to names, or like what do you normally do when you're thinking of a name?
Just go with it. Don't spend too much time. There's so many business owners or business people that are like, oh, I've got this really good idea, and they end up pondering for 6 weeks thinking about the colours of the logo and the name of the brand. In reality, you can change it further down the line. The sole purpose of running a business is get money in, and if you're pondering as to what colours to use on your logo or what name you should use for your business name, just set it up. Let's get some money in. Let's make some money. Let's earn, and then you can change the name. That's probably the biggest advice I could personally give at this stage.
Yeah, so it's quite a funny one that you use the word pondering, because that begins with P, and the biggest three failures of a business owner all begin with P. That's prioritization, procrastination, and perfection. So exactly what you just said there. Some people ponder on a name for 6 months. Yeah. Just think of a name, ask a few friends, get a list of 3, choose the one that you think's best, and then just move on. Don't procrastinate too much. Think of a name. And then the next part is, once you've got the name, which I also think is part of step number 2, which is thinking of the brand name and stuff like that, is buying a domain name. So something else that you might want to, which might be the deciding factor, is if you're down to the last 2 names, is which domain name is available. Because you kind of want to make certain that you've got your domain name is ideally your company name in an ideal, or especially for your brand. So have you got any ideas with regards to securing a domain name, first and foremost? Like, what registrar do you normally use to buy one, and what do you normally look at? If you're in, let's say, the UK, are you looking for a .co.uk, or do you want a .com? What's your thoughts on domain names?
So I always try to get a .com. but you know yourself, .coms are like far in between. Like everything's been taken, it feels like. So try to get a .co.uk if a .com's taken it. Obviously, if you are in the UK, if you're in the States, you might opt for like a .com or a .net. So try to do that, and then what I typically like to use, or the registrar that I typically like to use, is Ionos or GoDaddy as well. They're both pretty solid. One piece of advice that I could give you guys as well here is try and purchase the domain for like 4 or 5 years if you can in one, because sometimes like you purchase the domain for like £6 or $10, but the renewal cost next year might be like $20, $30. So you may as well just opt in for like 2 years, and you might save yourself a little bit of money there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think the big one for me is majority of my work is in the UK. So if I know I'm only going to stay in the UK, I prefer a .co.uk, but also the .uk top level domain is out, and there's quite a lot of decent domains on the .uk that now are available. So that's something that you could look at, is just the normal, just the .uk for domains. If you are going to be buying lots of domains in the UK, I would strongly recommend signing up to Nominet, which then means you can get your domains for a little bit cheaper. But that's only if you're going to be trying to build out, if you are in the marketing sector and you're going to be building lots of different domains. But anyway, next part, you've done your research, you've got your name of the company, you've now got the domain name, is writing a business plan. So a business plan, obviously, with a vision statement, should be there for you to have to understand where it needs to be. Now, what I really like about a business plan is that there's times where I'm thinking to myself, should I do X, Y, and Z? I'm on about like a year, 2 years further down the line. And sometimes it's good to come back to what my core focus needs to be about the business, check the business plan, which can evolve and can change, but is that in line with my vision statement and where I want the business to be? So have you got anything else to add with regards to drawing up a business plan?
I think with everything in this list, what everybody needs to remember is that we're not experts and we're not 100% perfectionists here. I'll openly admit I've never read a business plan. What I like to do instead is I like to write goals. So I'm like, right, okay, I want to be hitting this amount of revenue in 6 months' time, or this amount of net profit in 12 months' time, or I want to have X amount of staff, or I want to serve this like let's say let's go back to the dentist example. I want to be serving this amount of clients by, let's say, November 2025. So I like to do it a little bit differently, but that's not to say that you should or you shouldn't. I think that you're probably a little bit more experienced on this one.
Yeah, I think a business plan is very important for, especially when we go on to the next part. If you're trying to draw up finance, you need a business plan. There's times where there's certain bank accounts, business bank accounts. If you're wanting certain finance from the bank accounts, again, they want to see your business plan. Okay, where's your vision? Where are you going to take it? How much do you need to lend? Is the business viable?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So there's times that if you're going in, let's say, to Dragon's Den, and you don't have any sort of business plan set up, they're going to be like, no, not a chance. And in there, you can then start from the business plan, almost start working out of how long it's going to be before you start looking at the profit and loss sheet, before you start making money. They might know within the business plan for the first 3 years, it's going to be it's going to be churning money for growth.
Yeah.
So if they know that, then at least then they're setting realistic goals and expectations.
Would you say that a business plan's a little bit more important if you're going to go down the funding route?
Yes, 100%.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So the next part is then finance. So setting realistic goals. The amount of time that we get asked, I've got £500 to spend and I'm looking to set up a new business. How can I rank this website and grow? And I'm like, you don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Because you need to build out good quality content, topical authority and backlinks. So at that point, that's just for a website. If then you're looking to take on staff and you've got offices, you need to set realistic goals of how much for the first 12 months it's going to cost you. If you need staff, if you need vans, if you need insurances, what is it that you need? And then you need to also have a buffer in place that you've got enough money.
Yeah.
So finance is very important. Now that could be, you could raise capital from venture capitalists, from angel investors or even just from the bank and look to try and get grant funding. But you need to have that set out, or hopefully you've saved up some money yourself and stuff like that. Have you got anything else to add on the finance front?
No.
So next one is defining then, are you going to be going as a sole owner? You own 100% of the business? Or are you going to start partnering up with someone? Now, I'm a massive advocate. I prefer partnering up with someone because what I want to do is but it's very important I choose my business partner wisely. So I want my business partner to push and elevate me. I want my business partner to make certain that what I'm weak at, they're strong at.
Yep.
So we can compensate each other. That like I said, my weaknesses are your strengths. But then also we're like, I want to do 60% of the work. And I want you to have in your head that you want to do 60% of the work. So then naturally you're pushing each other to keep looking to elevate and grow. But there's times a lot of people choose the wrong business partners. So I can understand why certain people prefer going, I want sole ownership, I want to own 100%. What's your thoughts on directorship and ownership?
Yeah, I think you've put it pretty well. The making certain that you are partnering up with someone that potentially has strengths as opposed to your weaknesses. So, like prime example, when we met 5 years ago, you were pretty bad at technical SEO, and I was pretty good at technical SEO. Now we're probably subpar, and on the counter of that, I was really bad at business, but you were really good at business. So it was kind of like a harmony. So I think we've both learned quite a lot. But then I think for anybody that is looking to look for like a business partnership, because like we've seen it loads where people will partner up and they're both, let's say, they're both really good at operating a business, but they absolutely suck at marketing a business. They just don't know how to market themselves. And then that just ends to like a bad relationship or a bad business relationship. So, for example, if you're really good at operating a team and making certain that all staff are being paid, they've all got work, but then you've got a friend, let's say, for example, that's really good at running Facebook ads, that's probably like a really good business partnership if you can get something like that going. So yeah, I think looking for something like that helps big time.
Yeah. Next one is whether you form a limited company, or in the US it could be like an LLC. How are you going to set that up, right? So are you going to set it up in the UK? Are you going to set it up in the US? Are you going to set it up in whatever country you're living in? Or are you going to try to look for tax haven type countries like setting up in Dubai? Mm-hmm. They've all got the strengths, they've all got the weaknesses. You need to obviously speak. We definitely can't offer financial advice. You probably need to speak to your accountant that you're going to be using and see what they think is the best. But for me, I'm in the UK and I set up a limited company every time for every business or brand. I want to make certain that there's not a domino effect, that if one business was struggling, then all my other businesses would suffer. Mm-hmm. So each business is set up in their own limited company, and I've got an umbrella company, like a holding company, which owns each one of them. That's the way I have mine set up. But prior to, as a business checklist, you need to be knowing whereabouts you're going to go. Yeah. So, got anything to add on that about forming and defining the business structure?
This obviously isn't financial advice, but you obviously want to make certain from the word go, like if, say, for example, you're planning on selling the company, like let's say you're going to set up an agency and you're looking to sell it in 4 years' time, or that's part of your business plan to sell it in 4 years' time, you're probably going to want to speak to an accountant and figure out from the word go what's the best setup. So, for example, there's a lot of people that set up in Dubai, in like the tax-free zones in Dubai, because they know that they're going to sell their agency or their business portfolio in 5-6 years' time. So I would probably suggest speaking to an accountant on that, and they'll probably be able to guide you a little bit more. And again, it's very different for example, we might not have aspirations to sell certain stuff, but for any of you guys watching, you might want to sell in 2 years' time. So your situation will be a lot different to ours.
The next one, and this is a big one, is payment gateways and bank accounts that you open.
Yep.
So obviously we are very close friends with a lot of business owners, and we see this as being a problem for a lot, right? So I'll give you one example and then you can expand and we'll both jump between different payment gateways of what's good to use. PayPal, at times when you start getting a lot of money paid into your PayPal, can freeze your money if you start getting some refunds. So don't have a lot of money tied up in the PayPal account.
Yep.
Is one part, one bit of advice. We've seen a lot where people have had money frozen and they get it froze for 6 months before they can get it back. So if you've got a hefty amount of cash flow sat in your PayPal, business PayPal account, I'd strongly recommend starting to move some of that out. What else is this? So obviously these, you pay Lily and stuff like that abroad. So how do you pay?
So you've obviously got the likes of PayPal. You've got Revolut in the UK. I believe they're also in the US now as well. And then you've got Wise. So again, I've not had any issues with PayPal, touch wood, just yet. But what I would strongly advise is just try to split your payments across all three if you can. Like, get some payments into your actual physical business bank account, get some into your PayPal, and then also try and get some into your Wise as well. Because then at least you're spreading it as much as you possibly can. Whereas there's been guys like we know, like with 100,000 stuck in PayPal, and they need to pay staff the next day, and it's frozen in PayPal for 6 months. So yeah, definitely don't just have it all in PayPal.
One or two others which are good for the banking apps is Starling and Tide. Each one of them, they're quite good for the banking apps. But then also for payments in, I'd strongly recommend on Stripe.
Yep.
If you're looking to set up, let's say, an e-commerce store when you're choosing what website that you want, and in a minute we're going to move on to marketing, is whether you're going to go down the route of like WooCommerce or Shopify and stuff like that, and what e-commerce you're going to do. But then you're going to go down the SPP route or Stripe or something like that. So.
What one added tip to this as well is there's different payment gateways. Like, for example, you've just mentioned Stripe, but if you guys are looking to set something up in the grey area, let's say it's raffles or gambling or something like that, you might want to use you will want to use a different payment gateway, because Stripe, as long as like you're clean, let's say for example you're installing solar panels and it's a solar panel e-commerce store and you're taking payments of £4,000, stuff like that's fine. It's when you are doing like gambling or let's say competitions and stuff like that. In those cases, you're going to want to use a payment gateway or a payment processor that actually accepts those grey market and black market industries.
Yeah. Now, moving on to the bit that we both like the most, marketing. So, if you are a trade, in my opinion, a quote that I always use is that a successful business needs a consistent flow of quality inquiries. A lot of businesses can have the best products in the world, the best service in the world, but if you are not getting a consistent flow of quality inquiries every single day, you are going to struggle. You're going to be looking to do jobs at a cheap price, but when you're getting lots of inquiries, you can start upping your prices and then indirectly making more profit. But then there's other ways with regards to marketing about e-commerce stores and stuff like that online. So building a brand and creating a website, first and foremost, from my point of view on the websites I like to build, I really like WordPress. So that's a CMS system which allows you and many members of staff to log in. It's easy to edit and easy to use. With regards to e-commerce, which are you preferring?
So there's probably the main two, which is WordPress in conjunction with WooCommerce, and then you obviously have got Shopify. But you've got various ones, like you've got Big E-commerce. You've got a variety, like even Wix now does e-commerce.
Yeah.
So If it's down to me, I would probably just use Shopify. I think you need to pay like £25-30 a month for it. That's probably the go-to plug and play where like marketing agencies and stuff like that, they've just got experience using that platform. So probably Shopify, then WooCommerce, then you've got the rest underneath them.
So when now we're looking holistically at everything related to marketing, not just digital marketing, you've got different forms. You've got radio ads, you've got TV ads,
Billboards.
You've got billboard advertising, bus stop advertising, you've got like train advertising, underground, if you're in London, underground advertising. There's lots of different methods of marketing that you can do, traditional old school marketing. But then what have you got then online? Is there only one or two online, or is there plenty to go with?
There's loads. So you've got Bing ads, you've got SEO, which is like essentially ranking your website within Google and bringing it up higher for keywords that people are searching for. You have PPC, which is Google's own PPC version, where you're paying for like the top 3 spots. You've got Google Business Profile. So if you're a local business, you might want to go down that route where you're showing up for, let's say, accountants near me, and you've got like the map pack with like your reviews and stuff. You then have got Facebook ads, Twitter ads, Pinterest ads, Reddit ads, YouTube. YouTube's the second biggest search engine. You've got a lot of different avenues on the digital front. Same goes with like the traditional marketing route as well. Yeah,
and then another big one that people don't talk too much about is email marketing as well, which is very important when you're starting to get those sales funnels. When you start to build your traffic up in whatever way that it is, whatever platform that you want to use, whatever service that you want to use, whatever you feel would work best for your industry. Once you've got potential clients' email addresses, nurturing them through a process and getting them warm before then they might want to buy is also very important. Personally, if I'm looking to set up a business right from the word go, I would make certain I've got enough money that I would hire a fractional CMO.
Yeah.
Can you explain to people what a fractional CMO actually means?
So first of all, I think we need to understand what a CMO means, which is a Chief Marketing Officer. And basically what that person does is they would look at your outgoings on the marketing side. So let's say, for example, you might have like already, you might not be in stage 1, you might have already had your business for like 10 years, let's say. But you might be advertising on billboards, you might be doing some TV ads, and you might also be doing some SEO as well, right? And let's say, for example, on your billboard side of stuff, you're paying 10 grand a month, but you're not seeing an ROI because everything's just going well. You're thinking from a holistic point of view, everything's doing well, let's keep spending on marketing. But if you were to actually remove that £10,000 and let's say allocate it to, let's say, SEO, for example, or PPC, you might actually be able to double or triple your company's revenue. Now, that's the job of a CMO. They basically need to be looking at the outgoings on the marketing side of stuff and saying, why are we spending that 10,000 on billboard ads when we've not had an actual return? Now, what a fractional CMO does is you hire someone part-time. It might be a strategy call every month, or it might be a strategy call once a week. It depends on the actual setup that you have. And they will look at your marketing expense. Then they'll essentially dig down and say, right, okay, we're spending, let's say, 100,000 a year on advertising. But if we were to actually spend 100,000 on the correct advertising, we'd be able to triple the actual business's revenue. So that's what a CMO and what a fractional CMO does.
Yeah, I think the main benefits of hiring a fractional CMO is that, first and foremost, hiring a normal CMO is very expensive.
Yeah.
You're looking at someone that's an expert in all areas of marketing. So that's not just SEO. Now, SEO is a minefield within itself. Paid ads on PPC is a minefield in itself. Social media management is a minefield in itself. And then you then go down the traditional marketing route. So this person needs to be amazing at understanding the whole suite of marketing. So you'd be generally looking, when you're looking to hire a CMO, at at least as of a wage of 100,000 a year,
Yeah.
right? Where a fractional CMO, in my opinion, is actually someone that's better than a CMO as well.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say I think a fractional CMO is better is because, not generally speaking, the fractional part means that they're going to spend a fraction of their time working for your company. So they're going to be working part-time. But they're also going to be working for other companies. And as they're seeing and testing in different industries what's working and what's not, they're consistently innovating and improving their own knowledge. And a fractional CMO can save you a fortune, or can actually get you to spend more money in areas that's going to get you that return on investment. And that part-time role can help people spend money in the correct places, and make certain that their kind of allocation of budgets is spent in the correct manner. Little things like, a lot of people that do SEO might get a lot of traffic through to the website, but then they don't set up the retargeting pixel. Now, the retargeting pixel on Facebook and Instagram is one of the cheapest forms of advertising that you can do. That cookies the person that's being onto the site and gets them to come back to the website at a very, very cheap price. A CMO will quickly understand that and make certain that those little wins are set up, making certain that the thank you page is set up, making certain that they're adding into a CRM system that they can nurture the leads and stuff like that. So is there anything else to add on top of
There's a few other bits that CM or fractional CMOs would be able to guide you on as well. So, like, for example, every January there is a show in Barcelona, I think, and it's called CES. Now, what you typically find is with a lot of like tech companies, like let's say the Samsungs of the world or the Apples of the world, they'll actually start spending less in Q4 because they know that they're going to go to CES in January. So what they're actually doing is, instead of marketing themselves everywhere in Q4, what they'll do is they'll hold back a little bit of cash because they're like, right, well, we need to send out, let's say, 200 staff to CES. So there's just certain bits like that, and that's kind of like on the other side of the spectrum. Like, but a fractional CMO would be able to guide you with like targeting as well and just tracking. So yeah, if you're feeling a little bit lost with the actual tracking and where you should be spending your money, I recommend hiring a fractional CMO because they'll be able to help you out with that.
The last couple of things to add is getting yourself a decent accountant as well. Once you start getting your marketing right and then you start making good profit, is making certain that your accountant can make certain with tax planning that you're not overpaying on tax, that you're making certain that your profit and loss sheet is set up correctly, that all your expenses are put in, that if you have got multiple, like a business PayPal account, a Wise, Starling, what other bank accounts that you might have, it all can come into one dashboard like Xero as an accounting software system, which makes it very easy to know exactly the profit and loss. Because there's one or two other areas that's very important for businesses. There's certain metrics that I always want to make certain I understand, and it's the average transactional value of customers and how can I increase that, and the lifetime value as well of a customer, which I also think is very, very, very important for you to understand. You need to get those metrics in time to know how much you can spend to acquire a new customer. LTV, lifetime value, is very, very important. So that's kind of the checklist that I've got here about businesses, setting up a business. Is there anything to expand on that? There is other stuff we could expand on with regards to sales funnels, potentially. But is there anything else that you think could be added?
I've got three. We've kind of touched on one of them, or actually two of them, but need to know your numbers. So what you should be doing is figuring out, right, okay, this is how much it costs me to acquire a customer. How can I increase the LTV? Because if you can increase your lifetime value of that customer from, let's say, from them spending £500 to, let's say, £1,000, you've just doubled your business revenue overnight. So definitely work on that. Hiring and retaining staff. This is one thing that we've not touched on just yet. But what's some things when you look at when you're hiring staff?
So I would say one of the best bits of advice, if you're growing this is hire fast and fire faster. Some people say hire slow and fire fast, but I would say hire fast and fire faster. Business is about speed and innovation. If you don't innovate, you're going to evaporate. And you've got to make certain that you are getting the right people through the door. And at times, always put them on a probation period for a few months. Anyone can look good on a CV. Anyone can say what you want them to say in an interview. What they can't do is keep that lies going for weeks upon weeks. You start to realise after they've done the first week, on the second week and on the third week, who they really are. Have they got that energy level that they showed in that interview?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a big one. I also then make certain with regards to retaining staff, the culture's good. You've got to make it that you do look after your staff.
Yeah.
That you, we have certain bits of flexi time. So instead of just doing 9 till 5, you can do 8 till 4, you can do 7 till 3. I think that is important for certain people. Let's say they're a mum and they want to drop the kids off at school.
Yeah.
All right, you can start allowing for that. Mm-hmm. So you've got to kind of work with the staff in making certain that they're happy. And then also in time, once you start to get a little bit bigger, is making certain you've got a cultural architect in the company. Someone who's there that just makes certain that everyone's okay. Everyone can go to that cultural architect if they've got any complaints, or they've got like a complaints, we've got like a complaints box where some people might go, I really want a fruit bowl, or I really want this. There could always little tiny things of what they think the business should have.
Yep.
I think that helps retain staff, and retaining staff is so important.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Away from that, which is also very important, is making certain you're setting up the right systems and processes, making certain you've got SOPs in place, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures, which then means that if any staff do leave, next members of staff can come in and they've got the step-by-step guides of what needs to be done for each and every task. That's very, very important, that you're building your business to be systems dependent and not people dependent. There's a classic book called The E-Myth Revisited. I'd strongly recommend you reading that, because that is a great business mindset book to read. So systems and processes to make certain that you can maintain quality. And at that point, you can then start looking at virtual assistants. Yeah. So VAs, whether they're in the Philippines, South Africa, Bangladesh, Venezuela, India, we've got virtual assistants in all those countries. And what it allows us to do is charge Western rates, but being able to get the work done to a high quality standard, but in third world countries.
Yeah, sounds good. So that has been the business checklist. What we're also going to do is we're going to have a video live in the next couple of days talking about the different traffic sources that you can use to grow your online presence, to create a consistent flow of inquiries. What we'll do is we'll do an A to Z tier list, but that's been the video so far. Thanks for joining me.
Cheers, Kazra.
Thanks.